One of the hardest parts of building SaaS companies, and I've done this multiple times, is going from that idea stage to that first dollar that you've earned. Before you earn that first dollar, you don't really know if what you're building is the right product for the market. A lot of people might tell you this is a great idea, I love it, come back with this extra feature. But until someone really swipes the credit card or signs the contract and pays you, you won't really know that you're solving a real problem. This begs the question, how do you actually know if you're building the right product or solution? How do you actually get to the right customers? And more importantly, how do you make sure you don't waste months building the wrong product? In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps that I follow every single time I'm trying to build a new SaaS product. I'm trying to identify if this is going to be likely to succeed, and the 3 steps that I follow to make sure that I don't waste months building the wrong product. And when you follow these 3 steps, you'll be able to de-risk yourself and you'll be able to accelerate your path to that first dollar. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. In my journey as a SaaS founder, in the last 15 years, I've been building SaaS products and scaling them, and I've exited them. I've had my last company, ToutApp, it started generating revenues within the first week of launching. But at the same time, truthfully, and a lot of people don't talk about the failures, they only talk about the wins, I've had products where I've worked on it for months, and then it didn't end up going anywhere. There's some that I abandoned, and there were others where I kept pitching away at it until we got there. One of the things that I did is I took a step back and said, what did I do with something like ToutApp? Or what did I do with something like Instant, which is a SaaS company that I own right now, where we started generating revenues right away? And what was different about these 2 companies versus a different company or a different product idea that didn't go anywhere? This is particularly important because right now I coach founders on that 0 to 1 journey. I also coach founders who have some revenues and are scaling to upwards of 100 million in ARR. So in all of these different cases, sometimes they're starting a brand new product, sometimes they're pivoting. I wanted to understand, what are the mechanics that really makes for a successful product launch? How do you make sure that you earn that first dollar versus just building the wrong product for months? I've started to see a pattern, and over time, I started to develop a framework around it. I call it my MGP framework, not the MVP framework, the MGP framework. And in this episode, I break it down into 3 steps that you can follow, that I follow every single time I'm testing a new product to make sure that you get to that first dollar, but more importantly, you don't waste months building the wrong product. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm that just loves it when you do that. Let's go to the first step, which is the M. Now, the MGP framework basically breaks down to market, go-to-market, and product. That's the order in which we approach things. Most people start with a product and then figure out, okay, who can we sell it to and what is the go-to-market going to be? That's why most SaaS businesses fail, never even get to that first dollar. When I looked at the places where I actually built successful products that took off, even the ones that took a little bit longer to get there but eventually did, I didn't start with product, I started with market. So that's why with step 1, the big thing you're going to be doing is talking about what is the target market that you're really solving a problem for. And this is going to be a very visual thing, and I encourage you to grab a piece of paper and recreate this so you can actually follow along. The way I look at this is the entire world. This is everyone in the planet. And a lot of times when you're building products, you obviously want to build a product that has mass appeal, but the way to get to that first dollar, or the way to make sure that you de-risk yourself, is to get very specific about who in the world that you're really targeting. We call this the riches are in the niches. And so in this case, you really want to find a segment of the market where you can really focus and then expand from there. And over time, you can start to expand and take on bigger and bigger parts of the market, because you can say like, look, this is a large market, but we're going to get very specific about who we're going to solve this problem for first before we try to take over the entire world. This is really powerful because when you are focusing on a specific segment of the market, you can start to actually vet some things before you write a line of code. The big thing you want to understand is, are you solving an urgent problem? An urgent problem is something where if you don't solve it right now, bad things are going to happen. The second question you want to ask is, are you solving an important problem? Just because something is urgent, that doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it. Let's talk through why you need both of these. First, you need a problem to be urgent, meaning if it's not a top 3 priority for the person that you're selling into, where they're like, look, if I don't solve for this, I might lose my job, or I might lose my business, or we may not hit our goals, then it's an urgent problem. But at the same time, this is nuanced. There could be a major problem that's happening, but if it's not important enough, they're like, look, this is happening right now. We need to solve this right now, but honestly, we have these 50 other things that are just as important, if not more important. So we're going to start focusing on these and we'll get to this problem even though it's urgent. So this is nuanced because just because something may be a huge risk, they should do this, there may be 50 other things that trump it and become more important, which is why you want to find the problem where it's urgent and important for this very specific segment of the market that you are targeting. Just starting on this, and even if you're already started a product, stop writing another line of code, take a step back, and just ask yourself, in the entire world, what is the specific segment of the market that we're targeting? And what is the specific urgent and important problem that we're solving? How do you know when something's an urgent, important problem? Well, if it's tied to revenue, it's likely urgent and important. If it's tied to some sort of risk, it's likely urgent and important. If it's some sort of a insurance policy on things going bad, it's likely urgent and important if it's likely to happen. If that thing going bad is very likely to happen. That's how you can start to suss out, are we going after a very specific market or not? A lot of times people build products or build a piece of technology and they spend months in search of the right market to actually sell it to. So if you're too far down the technology, you're like, look, we built all of this, we just don't know who to sell it to and no one's buying. Sometimes it also helps to just forget what you've built, consider it a sunk cost. I'm not saying throw it out, but just pretend it's not there and just think about the market, which is why it's step number 1 in the MGP framework. Once you've thought about the market, the second piece comes into the go-to-market. This is where it gets really interesting because right now you have what we would call a market thesis. Well, the next step here is you need to go to that market and validate that thesis. And over time, I've tried this in different ways. There are different founders that I coach when they're considering a pivot or they're trying to go start a new product. And I've tried this different ways when I'm coaching them. And I found that there's only one way to really drive this point home on how to actually approach this. How to approach this is on a piece of paper or a spreadsheet or a line. What you need to do is make a series of circles. So you want to make 10 circles on this first line. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 circles. Then you're going to do that 10 times more for 10 rows. So you're going to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to keep rounding these out. That's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and I promise you there's a rhyme to my madness here. And this will save you months if you do this, and that's 100. Here's why I made you make 100 circles. If you want to stop wasting months building the wrong product, if you want to make sure that 8 months from now, 12 months from now, you're still not stuck in square one, the biggest thing you need to do is go talk to 100 people in market. So for example, if you are targeting VPs of sales, you need to go have a one-on-one conversation with 100 VPs of sales. If you are targeting software engineers, you need to go have a conversation with 100 engineers. Now, there are some cheat codes around this. So for example, if you already have domain knowledge, so in the past, say, year, you've already talked to 100 of these people and you know this role intimately well, and good news, you may not have to be starting from number 1. Maybe you've already talked to 20 of them, but you have 80 more to go. If you have deep experience, meaning you were in this role for quite some time, that can go both ways. Either you're biased and you're lying to yourself, or you could be onto something that no one else sees, in which case you should still go talk to 100 peers and really validate if you are truly solving an urgent and important problem, and if these people want a solution to that problem, the one that your product would be doing. The reason I make 100 of these circles is because I didn't make up the number 100. It's actually mathematical. If you think about it, you're going to talk to 100 people. Out of the 100 people you talk to, only about 20% of the people would actually be interested in buying something now versus much later on. So you need enough numbers. Out of the 20% that are actually interested in buying, let's just say another 20% are actually going to buy from you, which means you're going to get, out of the 100 people you talk to, you'll likely get 4 customers, assuming you're onto something. Now, you might also go through this process, and after 10 of these, you might realize this is not urgent or important enough, in which case you can pivot. You're early on getting enough data in, you're talking to enough people one-on-one, and you're getting a high fidelity of data, meaning you're actually having conversations, you're asking them questions, you're trying to understand exactly where their mindset is and if they want a solution to this problem, and if the solution is actually powerful for them. And so as you go through each of these, you're basically going to cross off one at a time. And the closer you get to 100 conversations, the closer you're going to get to pivoting into an urgent and important problem that you're solving, but more importantly, actually paying customers. And if the math works out, your numbers may be different, and every market is different, and it may vary depending on the urgency and the importance of the problem you're solving. It may not be 20%, it may be 50% of people say, hey, I'm definitely interested. And out of that 50% say, I'm going to buy right now. Those percentages may vary. I just go for very conservative numbers. Having done this a bunch of times, 100's about the right number to target, because if you're not willing to go talk to 100 of these people, you're just not going to get the fidelity of data that's needed to really understand if you're solving an urgent and important problem, but more importantly, what the solution really needs to be for them to actually buy. That's the second part of the framework. Now, before I go into the third part where all this comes together, there's some nuances on how you actually want to approach product. Let me actually pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? Now, there's two futures for you here. Future one is you continue to write more code and you keep going based on your gut. And then you hope after that, in order to earn that first dollar, you'll turn on the magical go-to-market machine and everything's going to work. That may or may not work for you. The other alternative is you pause on what you're doing, you figure out what the market is, you figure out whether it's urgent or important, you go talk to 100 people and you actually engage with them and you talk one-on-one with them and you really get a deep understanding, and then all 100 buy by the time your product is right because you built the perfect product. Are you starting to see the power in this? If you're starting to see the power of how much time you're actually going to save if you do it this way, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. This is super powerful for me even because it's humbled me several times. Anytime where I have a product where I'm like, this is just not working, I always moved back to, cool, let's go talk to 100 people. Let's get into one-on-one conversations. Let's get VIP on the product onboarding experience, and we'll really understand what's going on so we can fix the product and fix the go-to-market and fix the market and make sure that we're selling something that's really powerful. So it's served me so well. That's why I really believe in it. But a lot of times people shy away from it, which is why I do these circles, because it just reminds you it's not forever, but this is just something you can do so that you actually save 8 months of building the wrong product. Also, if you're in this stage where you're like, hey, TK, I need to figure out how do I communicate my urgent and important problem that I'm solving. We call that value proposition. I need to figure out how to run these conversations. What questions do I ask? How do I actually engage with these people? I run a weekly webinar. It's completely free. It's 45 minutes long that goes in depth about this framework and this process that I use to actually launch SaaS companies. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll link to it below. I'll tell you more about the end of this episode. Let's actually talk about the third step in this that really brings it together. The third step in this is product. And I know that you're like, oh my God, finally. And most people start with this, right? Which is why so many people fail to get to that first dollar, why it's so painful. One of the biggest things that I learned is when you actually figure out the market and you actually then go talk to 100 of these people and have the right conversations, you end up building a better product. Because the thing is, even if you have an urgent and important problem, that doesn't necessarily mean people will buy your product. So let's just say you pick an urgent, important problem that we know to be true. Let's take CRM, for example. You realize sales pipeline management is really difficult. Managing deals are very difficult. And you go talk to 100 people and you ask them, hey, is this an urgent, important problem? They all say, absolutely. But then you ask them, cool, what are you doing right now to solve this problem? And they'll just say, well, we're using CRM. And if you're using CRM, maybe they're using HubSpot or Salesforce or Zoho. Now, you might say like, well, ours is better. It doesn't do this thing. That's where the real rub comes, because just because you have an urgent, important problem and they've validated it, doesn't mean they're going to buy. What you need is a 10x product, meaning your product, the solution that you come up with to solve this urgent and important problem has to be 10 times better than the competition. The competition could be an existing brand that's out there, an existing SaaS product. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be apathy. They're like, look, we're fine. It's been fine so far. I've been running this company for 50 years. It runs this way. It's fine. I don't need a CRM. Could be any number of those things. So it has to be 10x better than whatever they're doing right now to deal with the problem that you're solving. And that's why this is really powerful, because in a vacuum, it's really difficult to actually build a 10x product. But if you're having these 100 conversations, and they're not just like some random survey you ran, you actually are talking to these people, you're structuring the conversation, you're really interviewing them and understanding and discovering what their world looks like, then I promise you, you're gonna get to a solution where you're like, oh my God, we can solve this. And we can solve this better than anybody else. And that's where it becomes really fun, because this 3-step process ends up with a better product because you have so much insights into the customer and the problem. And that's the power in this. And the best part about this is, as you are building the 10X product, as you're having these conversations, there's essentially a loop over here. The product informs the market, and the market informs the go-to-market, and then the go-to-market informs the product, and everything starts to rise, which is why you accelerate the entire process to get to that first dollar that you're trying to earn. And you're doing it in a way where you're not just adding more features, you're really having constructive conversations, you're testing the market, and you're actually building the product that the customers really, really want. A lot of times you'll be humbled in this process. Through these conversations, you may realize what you thought was an urgent and important problem is actually not that urgent and not that important. But at the same time, customers will tell you, like, look, I know you're trying to solve this, but this is the bigger problem for us. If you can solve this, I'll give you all my money. So a lot of times, the greatest pivots and the greatest opportunities come because they are actually going through what we call the Shawshank crawl to product market fit, which is this loop over here of actually looking at the market, going into the market, having the conversations, building the product, testing it in the market, and then iterating from there. But if you want to save yourself from months of agony, you should start with the market and then do the go-to-market and then do the product. And that way, you'll be able to accelerate your path to that first dollar, which is incredible. It's an incredible feeling. So now you know my MGP framework. Start with market, then do go-to-market, and literally draw this out. Take a piece of paper, draw this out, check them off. It feels great as you're doing it, and then build the 10X product. And then over time, you can actually build a more scalable go-to-market and expand your target market and go after world domination. Now you know what my MGP framework is and the 3 steps that I follow every single time I'm building a new SaaS product, or I'm working with founders to guide them and coach them in launching a new product or pivoting into a new product. This is a battle-hardened framework, and it's incredibly powerful. What you may not know is how to actually figure out the right SaaS idea, or how to figure out the right market to go after. What you may not know is, how do I talk and engage with these 100 people? Or how do I extract the knowledge and build the 10X product? This is why I run a weekly webinar. It's completely self-service, it's completely free. Just go to tkcater.com/webinar. And in that, you'll get a 45-minute in-depth training session on how I think about this pre-founder stage, where you're trying to figure out how to launch a SaaS company and get to initial revenues. It is an incredible training. So many incredible founders have gone through it. I've gotten so much great feedback from it, which is why we want to make it as accessible to you as possible. So go check out that training. Just go to tkcater.com/webinar. It's completely free. You can watch it on your own time, but bring a notebook, because I'm going to go really in depth on exactly how you can figure these pieces out. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. I drop an episode like this every Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. Also, how to start a SaaS business. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. If you have a fellow co-founder or a team member, if you're part of a Slack group or WhatsApp group, or people that are building SaaS companies, please share this video with them. We want to make this MGP framework the gold standard for starting SaaS companies, because I think it'll make so many founders' lives that much easier. Please share it with them. It would mean the world to us. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside the webinar. So just go to tkcater.com/webinar, and in there, I'll go in depth on how to deploy the MGP framework. Take care, everybody. Now let's explain why both urgent and important is important. Okay, let's redo this, sorry.